the raw feelings. This is just a journal entry at this point. This is Thursday, January 8th, 2026. We live in a world that hates the disabled. There exists a huge prejudice against lower income households. Blame is put on one or both parents, especially since now that they are both disabled. If a person looks fine in appearance to another human being, they are declared just fine, fully able. When a parent has multiple chronic illnesses, the more doctors are on the schedule. That leads to more expenses. Yes, expenses. My time is the most valuable resource and the most valuable expense. Not to mention finances. Think about this. That's just one parent. The other parent has multiple doctor visits too. He has valuable resources, time and income. Time. My body is in pain 24 hours each day, every single day of the week without let up. Laying angled is the most comfortable position for me. And for me, the more active I am, the more there is an increase of intensity of pain, causing me to eventually black out and lose consciousness. As it gets to the point, my bones, my muscles, my joints, my nerves, my organs, everything inside me is burning, and my body loses control. My kidneys release on their own. Nothing makes sense. My organs feel like they're flipping around doing somersaults. My heart and brain thumping so hard to my pulse, it's swooshing, and the pressure in my head, it goes from ears ringing to this high-pitched squealing. Then it's like the swooshing sounds that's in a shell that you find on the beach of the ocean. That's the sound that's in my ears as the pressure builds from the intense head pain. From my heart all the way up to my head. My throat tightens. Swallowing is a challenge. Choking, aspirating. It happens. It's happened so many times, and I do try to avoid it because I don't want pneumonias. Sweating. Sometimes it's so bad that I'm drenched, dripping wet with my sweat. The salts and minerals and toxins in the human body stink, as they're discarded through, through dehydration, like with sweat and like, peeing. Urinary tract. We take in hydration, but when we release all of that, we get dehydrated. The body needs hydration to stay alive, but the body is shutting down from severe to extreme stress that the pain is causing, not to mention if any other stress is added on top. The body either stiffens as it begins trembling, shaking, and goes into convulsing, or it goes out like a light, exhausted from the pain and limp, and very hard to arouse and wake up. Often the pulse lowers. Imagine if this is happening in public and how her and her family would feel, sweating nonstop and peeing on herself without her control. When she's at home, it's embarrassing enough as she's confused and physically weak, no strength, and that's at home in the privacy. Though she has children, and her sons do say, "Okay, Mom, I know you can't help, but cat piss, And now that's all they say. There for a while, they have learned, they've adapted, right? And so imagine being in public and these episodes coming on. Imagine people making fun of you. Imagine people saying how you stink. Imagine people saying you just want to show a center of attention. No, don't. I'm trying to stay quiet, stay put. Because she's young and she looks fine, no one believes how much pain her body must endure on a daily basis. Therefore, she's criticized instead of helped. People have expressed their opinions as to why they think this is going on, but failed to give support. Isolation shields her from judgmental speculations. She's only 44. She's young enough to be a capable working mule. Age is but the number. Is she really capable? Well, the 78-year-old is still working at Walmart. He has had a back surgery. His wife works there too. She's had a back surgery and an ankle surgery. Age is but the number, and they may be capable of working, but then ethics plays in, and I don't think that's right either. You shouldn't be a working mule your whole life. See, empathy plays a part. In her case, though, her children experience the journey with her. And the older couple sees it that, hey, you've got children to do this and do that. And yes, they do help, my children do, but they are not work mules. They do have chores, they do have things they have to do, they live here. But her experience in her life is that her children experience this journey with her. The not being able to eat to try to avoid profuse vomiting, which will make these episodes more frequent and far way worse. Only sipping on specific liquids, mostly water. Her children sees this, and the parents and the children desperately want to remain a united family. They have wants and needs. Each family member has specific and special wants and needs, and they are specific and special themselves. What would it be like if humans encouraged and supported and helped each other instead of judging, scrutinizing, and dividing the family apart? What if the father was the main financial provider and his abilities are extremely limited due to the bone skeletal problems and multiple surgeries to stabilize his bones? You know, the skeletal structure that holds the body up. They cut through his muscles and his nerves, and they installed equipment, metals, to hold and help him hold his body frame up, his upper torso to his hips. Stabilize the spine, and he needs to get his neck done, but he don't think it's going to help. He can't at this point. What if people put themselves in other people's shoes? Pretend like you are that person and you do have to live that way, and these are your responsibilities, and that's your life you've gotten taken away and grieved, and every day's new and every day's different, and you are trying to cope, and you're making progress even if the world doesn't see it. But listen to this. What if people did put themselves sincerely in other shoes and had to live like that? Pretend like you are that person, and that's the way you have to live. What's going through your mind and your heart? The financial burden of this world, many are so unnecessary. The stresses of the financial burdens on the family was deliberate. The day the cost of living becomes so excessive and extreme that a person works so hard and they're trying to take care of their family, trying to take their responsibilities, they slip and then break their back and their hips. The greed of unnecessary agendas of putting that heavy laden burden on the family unit. So the corporation of the big agenda of the Big Bang Boom theory of whatever the financial economic stratosphere of the business world is, you're taking it out on the family, and families are getting divided and conquering. The parents didn't ask for this situation, and the children are absolutely innocent as well, especially the younger the child. As they grow older, they can't help with responsibilities, and responsibilities are taught from the youth up. But fear is... Oh, where did it go? I had my notes. But fear is a harvested energy. Fear is a harvest energy. and economics, being disabled, living in poverty, having family responsibilities and stresses, wanting your children to be loved. The children see the parents in fear, and they're in fear too. They know their parents are embarrassed and they're at shame because, the vehicle isn't the end, but at the same time, these are the results when onlookers look on and study the situation, and they use their situation for entertainment and gain, even if it's gain of prestige and superiority. Some people are so prejudiced against the disabled that they'll mock them. They harvest that energy because they like chaos. They like to cause the chaos so that enters the disabled family's home, and then they feel a high off of it. People whose situation seems to put them at a more higher valuable position and rank. Their attitudes, instead of attribute, they leave more negative marks that are already severe and difficult in the situation. What if the communities and societies and organizations offered realistic help, hope, and support? Spirituality, emotionally, mentally, physically, educationally. Not just words, but actions, and in real efforts to keep the family united and bonded and whole. Communities would have peaceful conditions and conversations. The conversations would be so peaceful, so secure, so calm, so colorful, so bright, so joyful, so happy. There would be real security without poverty, pain, peer pressure, prejudgments, and prejudice. If all that was done away with, there would be real security and there would be peace. Thank you for letting me speak my written journal out loud. This is something raw and this is sacred. And I'm not writing this to complain. I'm writing this because I've witnessed this firsthand. Not just my family, and especially my family right here in this home, but throughout generations. This is a truthful testimony of just freelance writing and what life has looked like for me with illness, disability, poverty, judgment, and they all collide inside a family that's still trying to love, protect itself, and remain whole. What you decide is real suffering, not imagined, not exaggerated, and not diminished by appearance. But the world often mistakes functioning for health and silence for strength. Pain is often invisible. People feel licensed to doubt it and to judge it. The doubt becomes cruelty. You name several hard things in this. They're spoken plainly. Disability is punished when it doesn't look the way that people expect it to look, and chronic illnesses cost time, money, dignity, and energy every single day. Pain that never relents reshapes the body, the mind, the spirit, and the soul. Children do not just observe illness. They live inside its gravity. Judgment isolates, and isolation becomes a form of survival. There should be nothing weak about having to lie angled just to endure. And I should not have to feel so shameful about a body that collapses from unrelenting pain when there is not adequate pain relief. Why? Because doctors are scared of laws, and sometimes it's superiority complex. Sometimes they thrive off of the energy of, I'll be a superhero, you be a chronic pain patient. And yet they'll help you up to an extent, and then it's like, they can do more, but they don't. And sometimes it's excuses with DEA and this and that. Each person should be able to discuss their body, their pains with their doctor, and be able to be appropriately and accordingly medicated to help the pain, so that the families and the children aren't suffering so much, so that the mom doesn't isolate and the dad doesn't isolate, so that the mom's not just crying all the time, or she'll ask nicely, and then it doesn't, and then it gets louder and louder and louder. And then the dad, he's not, and then he has to go to bed because he's in so much pain, so he don't get violent. And he's not a violent person. He don't mean it, but like accidentally hit, like, there's nothing weak about admitting this. There's nothing immoral about needing help. What I'm describing, the burning, the pressure, the loss of control, the fear, the public collapse, it's not drama. It's the nervous system overwhelmed beyond capacity. The body is not betraying me. It is trying desperately to survive conditions no human should have to normalize. And the father that I'm describing, he's carrying a financial responsibility while his own body has been cut, stabilized, reconstructed, and is less capable. He's enduring a quiet grief, a grief of wanting to provide more than his physical body allows him. That kind of grief rarely has a language amongst men, especially, and women mock and scorn and put intrusive thoughts into the other people's heads. These questions are not rhetorical. They are moral indictments. What would it be like if humans encouraged instead of judged? What if support was practical instead of performative? What if communities valued preservation of families over suspicion of them? And the truth is, if society measured worth by compassion instead of productivity, families like this would not be pushed to the edge just to survive. And you know what? Research shows, and everything else, that it is right and it is true that fear and shame, these are tools, often unconsciously wielded, but they're tools to keep people quiet, compliant, and divided. When onlookers turn suffering into spectacle or opinion or mockery, they steal the dignity from people who are already carrying a heavy, laden burden that is too much to carry and trying to rely in prayer. And when you talk to therapists about this, some comments that say that stands out the most in this raw feeling is that despite everything, they know this family wants to stay united, that it's not weakness like people say. It is resilience. This family is resilience, and they even love under siege. We're not failing because their bodies hurt. This story matters. Our family story matters because it tells the truth that many are forced to face in silence, and they're having to suffer in silence and shame. We need to give them the encouragement to be resilient. We need to help them. We need to show care and dignity and strength, and we need to shape the world this way. Care, dignity, and strength, without softening the truths or sensationalizing the pain. We also need to advocate. We need to share testimonies. We need to create essays. We need to stand on it. We need to own it. We need to have awareness, policy discussions, community organizations, faith-based groups, and publications, poems, literature, songs. Recognizing pain, talking about it, not putting ourselves in a bubble and never escaping the crying and things. We can cry. We have our moments. It's up and down. It's a journey. But we can write about all of it, and we can help pull each other out of whatever phase of grief that we're in because we're suffering in pain, in poverty, in stress, in balance. We can balance this out. Pain meds serve a purpose. People need rest. They need sleep. They need to be able to work, to function, to think. Pain meds serve a purpose. And if they're used appropriately, and most chronic pain patients do, especially pain patients that want their family to stay together in a world that's trying to divide them. They know pill counts can happen at any time. Any letter agency can walk on this door at any time and do a pill count for any one of us. Yeah. So what I'm trying to tell you is keep the families together. Be the voice. If you're single, join in. We need to hear from you too. These are my raw and real thoughts from a parent in the pain community. And I want to hear your raw and real and vital, important thoughts and emotions too. I love y'all. This is Amber Lee Ryan, Stone Kaufman. Have a blessed day. Bye-bye.